We're back on track, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Manument Podcast once again with the host of the show, Glenn Johnson. This show's been on over a year. Can y'all believe that? He's the founder of Jabez Financial. He's a registered investment advisor. He's also a marriage counselor, life coach, co-author of the book, The Motivation Manifesto by Guru Les Brown. You can find that at jabezfinancial.com. And he's written for Forbes and a bunch of other places. And he's the founder of the Manument United Foundation that helps people network with each other. Learn more about it all at jabezfinancial.com. We learn little slivers of it all through each one of these episodes. I'm your co-host, Doug Turnbull. Glenn, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. I really am. Start to finish, all the way through.
There you go. There you go. He's like, I'm great every time, Doug. Why do you keep asking? Well, no, because we want to hear that positivity. There's so much to be down on in the world, whether it's the economy or strife in the Middle East or something you don't like on Capitol Hill. There's always something to be down about, but there's plenty more to be up about. And in our last episode, we actually talked about filtering out maybe some relationships that are holding you back, whether it's just ambition or whether it is negativity or whichever, and also finding people that help you strive ahead and that can mentor you. And you can still do that even later in life. You should never give up on trying to get better at that, but also remember to pay it forward. Our previous episodes and all episodes of this are found on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, and in the podcast section, jabezfinancial.com. Today, I'm going to set something up that really shows the importance of having contact with your financial advisor. We're going to be in the finance today, and here it is. I'm a big baseball fan. I'm from Atlanta. I love the Atlanta Braves. And they started this season 0-7. And it was like, what the heck? They were supposed to be World Series contenders, but they fought back and got to a point where they had almost an even record. And, they've had other years they started slow and things like that. But generally the end of May, and you're hearing this maybe in the end of July, generally the end of May is the benchmark in a major league season 2 months in, where teams have an idea. Is this team good or is it not? Right now, I don't like how the Braves were looking at the end of May, okay? And also, we're hearing this show right before the Major League Baseball trade deadline. So generally that point between the end of May and the end of July are where baseball teams in a 2-month period start figuring out, do I need to buy to get better? Do I need to sell and just go ahead and say this season is a wash, or am I not sure? And then they have the trade deadline, July 31st, to do that, okay? This reminds me, Glenn, of all those stuff we saw from April, market going down, then it made a V right back up. You and I talked right in the middle of the V, and you're saying, hey, time for a correction. Well, it's coming back up again, but it's time to have a mid-year check with an advisor for different reasons, whether it's current market conditions or whether it's tax planning or RMDs or what. So can you walk through the importance of not letting your plan, especially in the middle of the year when you're thinking about the beach or vacation, be on cruise control? Why do we not leave these plans on cruise control, Glenn?
Well, because a lot of times the what's going on in your investments, in your finances, in your portfolios, there's a lot that's going on under the surface that may not necessarily be reflected in the bottom line just yet. Think about, I just thought of this. Think about when you go to the dentist. You go to the dentist every 6 months for a cleaning. Yeah. Things may be fine. Then you get your x-rays. Things are fine. And then you find out that you've got 2 cavities and he's recommending a root canal. And you're like, what? I feel fine. Well, a lot of times you can look at your holdings and your investments and feel fine. But you take a deeper dive into put your investments in your portfolio under an x-ray, you may be in need of a root canal.
Ooh.
And this is where looking at your plan consistently at a bare bones minimum annually, but it better be, say, semi-annually anyway, depending upon the type of investments you have. But you want to be able to look at what's going on in your accounts underneath the surface that you're not necessarily feeling because you're only looking at your quarterly statements.
Yeah, well, that's a great point. Yeah, and look, as an average consumer, and I know we're exposed to more information now than we've ever been, so there's probably less excuse for us to be blissfully ignorant about these things than ever. But nonetheless, you're the financial planner. I'm the talker for a living, as an example. It's my job to do this more correctly. It's your job to do that one. So we shouldn't necessarily know. It probably should feel fine. So how often do you normally, and I know it's different for different people, but what is the normal practice for kind of doing maintenance on someone's accounts and actually getting in touch with someone if they actually, signed on and have business with Jabez Financial?
That's a great question. And it's actually contingent upon the complexities of their investments. And it's also contingent upon what they personally need to continue feeling secure and optimistic about the direction they're going.
Yeah.
So the pattern, the system I have is that when I meet with a client, at every meeting, we put another date on the calendar when we're getting together.
Yeah.
So none of my clients ever feel like they've been abandoned, misplaced, or been lost in the shuffle. So when we get together, they get a card. We have another date on the calendar. Whether we get together sooner or later, it's always there. And depending upon the type of investments they have, sometimes they don't need to be reviewed right away, and some others more frequently.
Yeah.
But the point is, the system is in place where we have another date we're getting together.
That's good. You don't let it go, oh, I'll talk to you later sometime. It's always,
Right.
it's kind of like at the dentist. They want you to lock in for a date right then. And by the way, it makes more sense for the client to do that because the calendar is a lot more clear 6 months ahead of time than 2 weeks, right?
Right. Eventually isn't on the calendar. And so when we review things, right? So maybe we've taken an x-ray on these investments and we find out that there needs to be a change. And I remember a mentor of mine telling me once, he said, you know what? Because I was going for a personal development counseling session with him. And he says, sometimes you just need to come in and get a checkup from the neck up.
Hey,
sometimes it's not just what we have, but sometimes it's our thinking that needs to be corrected.
Yeah.
So we may have started a plan. It was done right for the right reasons. And then life happened. And now we're having a different emotional experience.
Yeah.
And so then when we're having a different emotional experience and we look back at our investments, say, I'm not satisfied with this. There's a reason why we need to get together, because we have to look at and say, well, the reason you're feeling differently about what you have, is it because of real concrete reasons as to why changes should be made? Or has there been some other influence that's just really emotionally related?
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that we're not making emotional decisions with our finances, but we're making smart ones, wise ones based upon facts.
Yes.
And that's where, if we're meeting regularly, we're reviewing things regularly, then the financial decisions we make continue to be unemotional, but just intelligent.
Right. Unemotional, but intelligent there. So you need to check in with that. And then also, too, just keep in mind, there's certain deadlines, right? There's tax preparing season where people kind of look at that from the end of the previous year to April 15th, getting the W-2s and whatnot in order. Mm-hmm. But then there's tax planning. And that's something, if you have to take a required minimum distribution off of one of your pre-tax retirement accounts, if you're in your 70s, basically, that's, there's different ages for that. But you don't want to have to, if that's due December 31st, Glenn, it's better to kind of spread that thing on out instead of having to take thousands of dollars, out and then pay taxes on it at a certain time, right?
Well, it has to be done during that same tax year. So from a tax perspective, it doesn't matter if it's done in January or December. That said, determining which account you're going to pull it from, that decision can be made early. And if that's the case, well, you know what? Maybe it would make sense to take it in January.
Yeah.
If you're taking it out of this particular investment, or maybe if it's coming out of another one, maybe you'd be better off waiting. So the required minimum distributions, from a tax standpoint, the government doesn't care. But from a financial planning standpoint, it may make a difference as to where you're taking it from, because you don't have to take them equally out of all accounts.
And if you don't realize you have to take one, that could affect, okay, well, I don't have to, if there's another account that you've been relying on for income, well, you could turn that off for a little bit and use the RMD for that instead. There's all sorts of different things, and everybody's situation is different. And that's why we recommend a complimentary meeting with Glenn and the team to figure out if you all are the right fit for each other. 860-390-0093. And then you get into the X-ray of your portfolio. Oh, my plan feels fine, but is it fine? Oh,
that's right.
Oh, I had this deadline. I didn't realize it. Oh, that puts me in what tax bracket? All of these things. A lot of people have the illusion that they pay less taxes in retirement, or that their income has to be meager and tiny in retirement. And that's not necessarily the case. So get in 860-390-0093. A lot of times people aren't doing the mid-year checks right now. So it's a good time to get on Glenn and the Jabez Financial team's calendar. But Glenn, thank you for lending the time today to share the importance of this little tune-up here, whether it's a first-time person or somebody that's been with you for years and just has kind of let that slip, and they accidentally did put eventually on the calendar. I'm sure everybody needed to hear it.
It
so
happens.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, thanks for bringing that up. And like I said, that is, as far as a mid-year checkup, if it's something that hasn't been done recently, if you haven't looked at your finances in 6 months or 6 years for that matter, this is where it's a smart idea to pick up the phone, make a call, and schedule a conversation.
Yes.
At least have a conversation about it, and we can eliminate any uncertainties that may be there. And I can assure you, you'll walk away feeling better, at greater peace, with more confidence.
There we go. We love peace and confidence for sure. And with that said, Glenn, I also want to thank you for something here, because this is my last episode getting to host the Manument Podcast here. I've got a new job opportunity, which I'm excited about, but it's bittersweet because I've gotten to meet great people like you, Glenn, both here in the office and on the advisor side as well. So I really thank you for giving me the honor of doing this here, and I know you'll be in good hands going forward. But I love the positivity. We're both people of faith, and again, it's been a tremendous honor, sir.
And it's been a real pleasure, and I'm sure you're going to have a massive success where you're headed next.
I appreciate that. Yeah, God is great. So that's the biggest success part of it right there. Well, Glenn, thank you for your time today once again. And folks, we also appreciate you tuning in, and our producer, Rob Scott, for putting this thing together. I put a lot of papers on his desk this week. All right. So we really thank Rob for that. You can get in touch with Glenn and the team once again at jabezfinancial.com, filling out the contact form. You can also click the events tab and find out about the Manument United Christmas party, December the 6th. The rest of the details are there, but they're already, it's late July or early August when you're listening to this, and you may not realize they're already planning for Christmas there. If you want to network with some high-quality people, I would say, people that iron sharpening iron, if you will, go to the Manument Christmas party, the Manument United Christmas party, December the 6th. The details, you do have to RSVP, are online at jabezfinancial.com. He is Glenn Johnson, the host of the show, the founder of Jabez Financial, and a registered investment advisor. I'm your co-host, Doug Turnbull. Have a wonderful day, week, month, and year, and the Manument Podcast will be here for you next time, so stay tuned. We love that you're listening, and once again, thank you for listening to the Manument Podcast.
Investment advisory services offered through Jabez Financial, LLC, a registered investment advisor firm. Registration is not an endorsement by securities regulators. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities, offered through Glenn Johnson Connecticut Insurance, license number 4628409. The firms are separate entities. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company and are not offered by Jabez Financial, LLC. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Jabez Financial, LLC is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Jabez Financial, LLC is licensed in your state, please call 860-390-0093.